And we're live. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Comic Shop Talk Live, brought to you by Black Cat Comics in Rockin' Milpitas, your one-stop shop for all things superhero. Shop online at black-cat-comics.com. We keep you connected to the comic book community. I'm your host, Mark Causey. This is a show about new comics. Going to talk some new this week books. Going to talk a little bit about some of my favorites. Going to talk a bit about some of your favorites. Want to hear from you. Want to know what's at the top of your stack. This is an interactive show. Throw me your questions, comments, queries, concerns about the world of comics, and I will address those issues to the very best of my ability. Always like to start the show with a little comic shop news. So not too much hardcore news in the world of comics this week, but if you have Disney Plus, you probably caught that first Loki episode. You know, we like to talk a little Disney Plus, a little Marvel Cinematic Universe on television around here. All the in-store appointments been talking up some Loki. It was absolutely amazing. No spoilers. Don't want to say too much about anything, but I hope you're all checking that out. If not, either drop a buck on that Disney Plus. Go visit a friend who has some Disney Plus. It's well worth checking out. Looks to be a really great show. In other comic shop news, we talked a little bit about it last week. Going to keep talking about it. San Jose Con is right around the corner. Don't have the dates and such in front of me, but go to sanjosecon.com. Find San Jose Con on Facebook. Steve's putting together a really great show. Frank Cho is going to be there. Liam Sharp's going to be there. But I'm super excited because he's got Mike Royer, the inker of the all-time legendary Jack Kirby, inker for books like Demon and Mr. Miracle and things like that. So doesn't get any more all-time than the inker for Jack Kirby, and I want to be there getting my Demon signed. So check out San Jose Con. We're going to be there. Lots of great vendors, lots of great creators. Steve always puts on a great show. So like I say, look that up on Facebook and on the good old interwebs, and make sure you're there. Support your local comic show. As you can see, my charming assistant is not here this week. Francie's off doing other work. So I'm left here to my own devices. So I thought I would take a minute this week before we jump into the new comics. And along with comic shop news, there's a lot that we've been talking about here in the shop the last couple of weeks about comic collecting. And so I was going to throw out some Causey's collection tips for the old schoolers, for the new schoolers, just a few tidbits of info that I've picked up from my own experience over the years, over the many years that I've been at this. And I've been a retailer for a long time. And so I've talked to a lot of you about how you do your collecting, how you handle your collection. So again, some of those things have been coming up this week. And so I thought I'd take just a minute. Arnell says, aloha from Hawaii. How you doing, Arnell? Way out there in Hawaii. Thanks for keeping up with the show with the time change. I appreciate that. Like I say, a couple of Causey's collector tips. First of all, I want to talk about one of the bigger issues that is going on in comics these days, and that's the speculator market, the comic speculator market. Some of you know what that means. Some of you don't. Basically, it's a word that they throw around for people who buy comic books in the hope that they will increase in value and you can flip them at another time. This week's example was Web of Spider-Man #1. Been getting a lot of calls about Web of Spider-Man #1. Let me say, first of all, I have no beef with any of that. Everybody buys comics for lots of different reasons, collects comics for different reasons, loves comics for lots of different reasons, and I am okay with all of those things. It is none of my business why you buy, read, collect, and love comics. What is my business is getting you those comics for whatever reason that you love them. So some folks like to throw around that speculator thing like it's a bad word, and it's not. Everybody does, any big-time fan of comics, participates in all these activities, we buy comics for all the reasons, for the writers, for the artists, for the publishers, for the characters, for the stories, for the speculation, for all of these things. We're all innocent and guilty of all these things, and so I don't point any fingers. But I want to moderate that concept just a little bit with a very simple statement. Buy what you like to read, buy what you like to collect, buy and love the comics for the reasons that you love to buy comics. What am I getting at? Yes, we all there's a little bit of speculator in all of us. We all pick up an issue that we think is going to be a big deal, and maybe somewhere down the road I can sell that book. And if you're in that mindset, that's totally fine. But do it with books that are still in your parameter of what you love. If you're a Marvel DC person, there's no reason to speculate on that super obscure independent book. If you're a super obscure independent person, there's no reason to speculate on that new #1 X-Men book, because X-Men isn't your thing. Stay in your lane, even if you're speculating. And I'll tell you why. Because a lot of what I'm going to talk about with these tips, it's about the long road. It's about where you are 10 years from now, 15 years from now. If you're like me, you're lucky enough to be around here for 180 years. You're 180 years old like me. You got boxes and boxes of this stuff. And you look back and you wish you had done just a couple of things different. And one of them is buying books you have no interest in. Because even in a spec market, even in the best case scenario where these things are going to be worth a lot of money, if you don't care about that book, then it's just taking up space unnecessarily in your collection, unnecessarily in your garage and whatnot. People are calling me all week. Do you have, they don't even know what they're asking me for. Do you have that Spider-Man book that has that guy in it? Yes, I have lots of Spider-Man books that have lots of guys in it. And so what am I getting at? If you're a Spider-Man person, you hear about this cool first issue for a new book. You're a Marvel person, you hear about this first issue. You're a Disney person, you hear about this book that has to do with the ride. Hey, cool, pick up that book. You hear there's some buzz about a Spider-Man book and it's selling out and whatever. And you think, hey, I'm going to get in on that. Great. But you don't want to do that for every book, every time. You don't want to do that for everything that the internet tells you to, because otherwise 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, you're going to have all these boxes full of comics that you don't know why you bought it. You don't know what they're doing here. And now you got to get rid of them. The window for that flip has long passed. So getting a little further than I wanted to, as I say, stay in your lane. If you want to spec on a book, check something out. Great. But know why you want that book, and you buy it because you want to read it. You buy it because you love that character. Have some sort of attachment to it. Otherwise, it's just a book. Arnell says, won't be able to catch the show because you're traveling. All right. Well, we'll see you next time, and you can watch it later on the good old interwebs. Okay. So other Causey tidbits. The other thing is organization. Stay organized. Whether you're just getting into this and you're just buying stuff, you got to get organized and you got to stay organized. You got to have your bags and boards. You got to have real boxes, and you got to have those boxes labeled. You got to know what's in those boxes. Again, because 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 1 year from now, you're going to have all this stuff all mixed up everywhere. You're not going to know. You're going to want to read that book, and you're not going to know where you put it. You're like, oh, it's here somewhere, but I don't know where it is. And that's a bummer. We buy these things so that we can read them, so that we can enjoy them. And the best way to read them and reread them is by staying organized. Like I say, at the point that you buy them, get your bags and boards. You read them. When you're done reading them, you put them where they go, into a labeled box that says Avengers, or a labeled box that says Superman, whatever have you. Because you don't want to get 180 years old like me and have just boxes and boxes of stuff. Which brings me to the big one, number 3, filter. And this is really hard for a lot of us. It was really hard for me to grasp some of these concepts. That's why I'm sharing it with you today. Filter. Every once in a while, go through your stuff, force yourself to part with those books that somebody else loves more than you do. We all think that we love every single book that we have. We all think that every book that we have is going to be worth $1 million. And that's not always necessarily true. The truth is, these things come and go in waves, and we're super into something. My thing a long time ago, I was super into Spawn, and I was buying Spawn everything. And then he starts cranking out these toy sets like there's no tomorrow. And the next thing I know, I've got this whole garage full of Spawn toys. I didn't need every single Spawn toy he ever made. I just needed the cool ones that I thought were cool. So I had to go through those, pare down a little bit. And it hurt in a couple of cases. Nuclear Spawn was really cool, but there were a couple of them that I had to live without. And comics works the same way. Again, if you're going to be in this for the long haul, you have to have a back door for some of this stuff. You have to have a way of some of this stuff moving out so that you can make room for the new books, for other stuff that you're into, for that next phase of your life when you're like, now I'm into Mr. Miracle and I got to have everything Mr. Miracle. Well, one of the previous phases needs to find a new home so that you can make room for your new Mr. Miracle stuff. And how do I do that? That's easy to say, but how do I do that? Real simple. There are three kinds of comics. There's the comic that you will love till the day you die, the ones that you just absolutely can't live without. The second stage is the ones that you want to reread again. Hey, I really like Fantastic Four, so I keep my Fantastic Fours. Every once in a while, I want to reread them again. But there's that third group that could be any of a number of things. I used to really be into Green Arrow, but I'm not so into Green Arrow anymore. I like these books, but I don't love them. I'm probably not going to read them again. Find them a new home. Find them somebody that's going to love those books, somebody whose favorite character is that character. Free up some space in your collection. Like we say, we've all got to do it sometime. So those are three of my big tips. Three things that I talk a lot about here in the shop, talk to a lot about, again, the new guys, the old guys, everybody in between. Just some things that we as comic fans need to keep in the back of our minds. Again, if you're going to be in this for the long haul, if you're going to be in this for 100 years like me, then you got to think about some things. And again, those are: one, only buy things that you want to read, that you want to keep in your collection, that you want to have forever. Don't buy the thing the internet tells you to buy. Don't buy the thing that your buddy tells you to buy. Don't buy that thing I tell you to buy. Just because I say it's cool doesn't mean you're going to like it. Doesn't mean it belongs in your collection. Be selective. And because there's millions of books out there, and if you're trying to buy everything, you just can't. So again, don't buy the things just because the internet says so. Buy the things that you like. And when you buy them, get them in a bag and board, and get them into a box with a label on it so that you can find it again when you want to go back and read it again. 10 years from now, you're like, oh, I want to read Dark Knight Metal. That was awesome. Where did I put those Dark Knight Metals? And three, like I say, have a filter, have a way of moving some things out. You loved it. You read it. It's now in your memory forever. And now you can send those books off somewhere else so that you can make room for next week's books and for more exciting stuff. So that's three of my top tips. Again, this is an interactive show. What are some of your collector tips? How do you like to store stuff? How do you like to organize stuff? Or your stuff bagged and boarded, or your stuff just raw and in boxes? I find that sharing these kind of tidbits is really helpful for other fans because we all do things a little different. And, you take a tidbit from me, you take a tidbit from Bob, and you can have a really great program. I guess my last little tip is have a program and stick to it. That's also really important. When you're picking up all kinds of titles every single week, you got to have a system, you got to have a program. So, like I say, want to hear from you, want to know your Causey collector tips, and want to know what you're reading. What are your favorite books this week? I'm going to go ahead and move on into the new this week part of the show because that's what we do here. It's Comic Shop Talk Live, and we're talking about some comics. This is one of my many books of the week. It was a good week for me, and I want to start with the Marvel guys. I want to start with some Amazing Spider-Man. I've been talking up this title for a little while. This is part 2 of the latest arc. So you can grab part 1 and then grab this week's part 2. Can't say enough about Amazing Spider-Man. I'm going to try and keep it quick, keep it a little brief this week. I got a few books to go through, and I like to keep it within half an hour. But Amazing Spider-Man, a lot like I've been saying, it is everything that has always been classic about Spidey, everything you've always loved about Spidey, but it's also a big breath of fresh air. It is classic villains with new motives, which is always fun. It's those classic side characters with new things going on in their lives, and that's always fun. But it's also new characters, new side characters bringing something to Peter's life. And it's new villains with new plans out there to kill Spidey and mess up Spidey's life. So like I said, it's everything that has always made Spidey fun. Lots of action, lots of drama, lots of intrigue. Amazing Spider-Man has always been the top Marvel book. It has been long said that as Amazing Spider-Man goes, so goes the industry, and I'm feeling that right now because Amazing Spider-Man is a lot of fun and really moving, and comics right now are a lot of fun and really moving. If you've been away from Amazing for a little while, come on back. If you haven't checked out Amazing Spider-Man, get into it. And I would also recommend Nonstop and a lot of other Spidey things they got going on right now. But it doesn't get any more core title than Amazing Spider-Man. Every superhero fan should have this on their list, and now is as good a time as any and better than most. Let me give you a quick shot of the art. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you're a longtime Spidey fan, you remember some Hobgoblin, you love some Hobgoblin, there's some great art. There's a little montage of the story of old Hobby, as we used to call him. Anyway, really great time to be reading Amazing Spider-Man. And that's sort of my segue to Iron Man #9, because in a lot of ways, everything I just said about Spider-Man applies to Iron Man. Obviously, it's #9, so it's a fairly new series. A little like Mortal Hulk and a few other things I've been saying, worth the $4 just for that Alex Ross cover. That's an awesome Alex Ross cover. So again, much like I just said about Spidey, classic villains with new motives, new villains out to kill Tony Stark. Classic Tony doing his thing, and classic side characters, new side characters. A little bit of what has always made Marvel fun. The villain in this one is Michael Korvac. If you're a longtime Avengers fan like me, you remember the Korvac saga from the 1970s. Let me back up half a step, and I'll talk more about this concept in a minute. But one thing I think about as a comic fan, and again, I'll talk a little bit more about this when I get to this week's issue of The Joker, is what villains do in the downtime. You know, you got something like Korvac saga, right? It was a long time ago. And it's this great thing, and everybody knew about it, and everybody knew who Michael Korvac was, and it was this whole thing. But then that series ends, and time goes on, and you never saw Korvac again, and now he pops up. And so somebody was like, hey, here's this great villain that nobody's done anything with for the longest time. I'm going to bust him back out. Old school fans like me go, yeah, Korvac saga. New fans don't need to have read the old stuff to understand that this villain has history with Iron Man, and he's a really cool villain. And off they go. I'll also chime in that a little like I said in the newsletter this week in my review for this book, there's a lot of technology. Iron Man has always been based on Stark tech and him trying to, reclaim armor in the Armor Wars, or him trying to do something with Stark technology. This series is kind of about all the other technology that's lying around that is there to be made use of to somebody like Stark or like Korvac. So anyway, it's a great superhero title. Lots of cool classic villains, some new villains, some great stories, some great art. It's a really back to basics take on Iron Man, which is fun because the last couple arcs have been, AI, Tony Stark, and they've been kind of going way out on a limb, which is fun. But when they've been way out on a limb, it's also fun when they bring it back to its core root, and that's what's going on right now. So 2 all-time great characters, 2 all-time great books. Great time to jump back into. What's the legacy number on that? 634 for Iron Man. That's pretty awesome. My only other Marvel book, because again, I'm trying to keep it brief this week, is this guy, Heroes Reborn, Squadron Savage. Have a lot to talk about with this book. Mostly in general. I don't want to give away too much. Don't want to spoil too much. This Heroes Reborn stuff has been weekly, so they're already up to number 6. Next issue is the last issue, so if you've been missing out, you got a lot to catch up on before it turns into Heroes Return. Sorry, I'm not taking phone calls right now. I'm live on the internet. Squadron Savage. So, as I say, Heroes Reborn, it's wrapping up like next week, and then it becomes Heroes Return. You're going to want to check this out. The main book has really been fun. Why am I showing you this one? Showing you this one for a couple of reasons. If you don't know anything about it, the premise of Heroes Reborn is that it's a world without the Avengers. The Avengers have never existed, and what does the Marvel Universe look like in the absence of these characters? I love stuff like this. I'm a sucker for the Marvel events, frankly, but I always like seeing different versions of my classic characters. I always like seeing alternate universes, alternate worlds. Just like seeing when they shake them up and do something different. So Squadron Savage is obviously the Heroes Reborn version of Savage Avengers. Savage Avengers is one of my favorite books right now because it's just kind of the opposite of what every run of Avengers has been. And I'm enjoying the heck out of it. So seeing the Heroes Reborn version of that has been a whole lot of fun. Again, I mentioned this for a number of reasons. One, pick up Heroes Reborn. Grab the first issue. Check it out. It will probably suck you in because Jason Aaron is an awesome writer, and they've just got an amazing team of artists on that core book. I always say you don't have to read the side books to get the main book. You only need to read the main book. But if you like the main book, as I do, and a lot of people are, it's selling really well, then check out some of the side stuff and see if it wows you. They're only one-shots. It's very non-committal. I pitched the Marvel Double Action book last week because that was a lot of fun. This one's a lot of fun because the reverse is true. If you're not following the main book and you just want to read something fun, pick up some of these one-shots. Again, they're self-contained, totally non-committal. You don't have to ever read any of this Heroes Reborn stuff ever again when this all wraps up. So I think they're fun. Again, good stories, good artists. This one has a neat lineup. This book is pretty spoilerific, so I don't know what I can show you, but you'll just have to check it out for yourself. I don't want to reveal any of the looks of the other universe characters and things, but check out Squadron Savage. This week was also Night Gwen. Everybody loves Gwenpool and Spider-Gwen and Gwen anything. So pick up Heroes Reborn Night Gwen if you're one of those Spider-Gwen people. Like I say, check out these one-shots because they're just a lot of fun. Check out the main book. There's a little bit of overkill with all of it. Marvel likes overkill. But as I say, if you be a little selective, you can have some fun with it. Again, want to know what you're reading? Want to know what's at the top of your stack? What's your favorite book of the week? What did you like last week? What are you looking forward to next week? While I can go on and on and on about my comics, I also want to hear from you. I want to know what you guys are up to. So we're moving on to the DC stuff. It's all Batman this week. All Batman. It's a lot Batman a lot of weeks. But this week is some of my favorite Bat stuff. I've been saying the Bat, as much as I'm a Marvel guy, as much as I'm an Avengers, Captain America guy, Batman's got some of my favorite books right now. Batman, Catwoman, Legends of the Dark Knight, Batman, Superman. And this week is some other ones. Detective Comics. I started with Amazing and Iron Man. Doesn't get any more core title than Detective Comics. This is number 1037. And I've been liking Detective because it's gotten back to a little bit of what the book is always supposed to be about, is him solving crimes and solving mysteries. He's the world's greatest detective, but you don't see him doing a lot of detective work. But that's what he's been doing in this book, and that's fun. Again, some new villains, a little bit of classic Batman doing what Batman does, but some new side characters, some new villains. Huntress is in this one a lot. Everybody's reading Batman. Everybody reads the core Batman title, as they should. But to all of those people, I say, hey, you got to have Detective on your list too. Detective's a solid read. And again, some really solid art. Oh, can't show you that. It's almost just a little bit Capullo McFarlane kind of look to it. Good stuff. So this one's probably already on your list if you're a big-time DC fan, but if it isn't, or if you've gotten away from it, you should come back because, like I say, every bit as good as Batman and the book that started all. Next, Batman Urban Legends. Love this one because for the same reason that everybody does. There's Mr. Freeze, because Batman has two things that a lot of characters just don't have. One, he's got the best rogues gallery in comics, right? You never run out of cool Bat villains. Doesn't have to be about the Joker. You could write 50 Bat stories and never use the same villain twice and have them all be cool. The other thing is the side heroes. I love Nightwing. Everybody loves Nightwing and Batgirl and Red Hood and Huntress and on and on and on and on. All the different Robins and on you can go. So Batman Urban Legends is an anthology book. It's got a few short stories with all your favorite Bat characters, all your favorite heroes and villains in multiple stories, multiple creative teams. I love anthologies. I love short stories. I love things with multiple creative teams in the same book. Like Neapolitan ice cream, you get a little chocolate, you get a little vanilla, you get a little strawberry. It's good stuff. Batman Urban Legends. This is issue 4. So if you've got a little catching up to do, I would recommend picking up all of these and picking up all of the Batman Black and Whites. It's another awesome anthology book. A little more stylized than this one, but like I say, everybody loves Batman. Everybody loves the Bat villains. Everybody loves the legion of sidekicks. Good stuff. And you see them all in Urban Legends. And last but not least is the Joker. Mentioned this a little earlier. I love villain books. They don't have enough of them, and they don't do what they should do with villain books like they're doing with this one. It's almost more of a Commissioner Gordon book than a Joker book, but I wanted to show this because, a little like I was saying about Iron Man and Michael Korvac, I think villain books are awesome, and the angle that they should do more, and I heard they're going to be doing this with the Deathstroke book, is villain versus villain. If you're the Joker, everybody in Gotham is out to get you. There are the people that are afraid of you, and there are people that are trying to kill you and take what you have. And I think that would happen a lot to the Joker. And so here he is in his own title, and like I say, this first arc's been really good. It's all about sort of his history with Commissioner Gordon. But I'd like to see, Two-Face taking on the Joker, Penguin taking on. It seems to me that the Riddler and the Joker would have a long-standing thing, and that they would be trying to kill each other all the time. So, like I say, they wouldn't all be just focused on killing Batman all the time. They'd be looking to take out this guy because he's the baddest guy in Gotham. And so, anyway, it's fun to see a villain book. This book got a lot of buzz with number 2. So if you picked up number 2, I hope you would keep reading it. If you didn't pick it up, grab the first issue and keep rolling because, like I say, always fun to see a book about a villain. This one's got some great art. Can't show you that page. That's kind of nutty. Let's show them the crazy Joker page. All right. Like I say, good stories, good art. Hey, look at that. You want to read that, don't you? Everybody loves the Joker. So, like I say, big Bat Week this week. Always a big Bat Week and lots of fun stuff. Big range with the character. And as I'm starting to wrap it up, last call, I want to hear what you're reading. I want to know what's at the top of your stack. What are you reading this week? What did you like reading last week? My last book for this week is Geiger. It's like all the other books I've talked about today. There's 100 things to say about this book. 1, everybody should have at least one Image book on their list. Whether you're a Marvel fan, DC fan, indie fan, whatever it is, whatever reason you like to read or look at pictures, you should have an Image book on your list. Because Image has 1,000 unique titles doing the kinds of things that you're not going to see at the other publishers. 2, if you're a Marvel or DC person, whoever your favorite creator is, Tinian or whoever your favorite writer or favorite artist is, that person probably has an Image book and it's probably really good. So if you're liking a Marvel book, if you're liking a DC book, you should see if those creators have an Image book. 1, because that Image book will be what's actually paying their rent. So if you like that artist, you like that writer, help them out and buy their Image book because they keep more of the money. 2, it will be their own concept, creator-owned kind of stuff. So if you like that writer or that artist, you'll probably love their Image book because it's the purest version of what they want to be doing in comics. Which brings me to Geiger. This is Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. You should read anything by Jeff Johns. You should take a look at anything drawn by Gary Frank. I love Gary Frank. Going back to All-Star Superman and all kinds of things. He's just one of the top talents in comics because he does that kind of stylized hyper-realism that I'm always talking about. Maybe this is spoilerific. I don't know, but there you go. He's just got that great pencil work that takes me back to those great guys from the 70s, Byrne and Perez and Jim Aparo, and just love me some Gary Frank. That's to me what comic art is about. So it's an awesome sci-fi book. There's this one. There's Noctera is another great sci-fi book from Image right now. Department of Truth is another great book from Image right now. There's 1,000 great books in Image right now. This is mine for this week. If you've missed the first couple issues, there will be a 4th printing of Geiger #1 next week. I would really suggest grabbing it. I'd say kind of dark science fiction. It's a whole lot of fun. Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, what more do you need? So it's a good week of stuff. Lots of things to check out. You can find me here every Wednesday going through the video of the books that are out that week. We do that Wednesday morning around 9. Everything goes live at black-cat-comics.com about an hour later. Then you pick up your books, you read them through the week, you tune in on Saturday, and we talk about them because that's what we do here at Comic Shop Talk Live. Thank you all for joining us. That about wraps me up for this week. Don't forget to check out San Jose Con. Find San Jose Con on Facebook. Check out that amazing guest list. Make sure you get a ticket to the show because it's going to be awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week in a brand new show. We're live.